Alright, amazing one again, guys. Welcome to Govima Sport Review back in town. I'm all saying yes, we feel buzzing again because football is back. Yes, Premier League actually started last week with a bang, and I'm also telling you amazing results coming from the Premier League. We're going to look into that just very soon. But of course, I'm also we are anticipating the return of the German Bundesliga. Remember, last season, Bayer Leverkusen for the first time in history actually emerged as the winner of the German League. And I'm all saying yes, the German Bundesliga is going to be kickstarting later today as defending champions. Of course, Bayer Leverkusen welcome Mönchengladbach, and yes, in the title defense season for Xabi Alonso and his men. Last season they won virtually every title possible in Germany except for the Europa League after they lost to Atalanta. Of course, with Nigerian striker, of course, Ademola Lookman scoring hat-trick against Xabi Alonso's men, and eventually, they were unable to actually win for the treble. But of course, amazing season it was last season. Will they be able to keep up with the trend again this season? We keep our fingers crossed. Of course, later today they will be actually starting their title defense against Mönchengladbach. How is that gonna go? But of course, this time around they will not be with a certain Nigerian striker. Talking about Boniface. Victor Boniface actually been banned for this particular game. Why? Because of some misconduct in the German Super Cup held last week against Stuttgart. So Victor Boniface will not be in action later today for certain Bayer Leverkusen. We'll move away from German Bundesliga, and guys, let's just quickly talk about this particular one. Yes, Dennis. Yes, Jannik Sinner, award number 1, of course, escaped punishment over the course of the season. He was actually found to have failed some drug tests, but yes, due to some explanation down the line, we were able to find out that some of these substances found their way into his body system as a result of treatment from his physiotherapist and all that. So he was eventually cleared of wrongdoings, and he was able to escape what could have been a major doubt for him. And of course, anticipating the US Open starting just in a couple of days here. I must say it's going to be amazing again in the world of tennis. Anticipate the US Open, returning of the best of these guys, even on the court, of course, right there in the United States. Okay, we'll move away from tennis and we'll quickly talk about golf. Yes, where we have Keegan Bradley, actually topping the chart as importantly, I must say, BMW Championship 2024. Yes, Keegan is actually leading that chart as we speak, and he's ongoing, of course, and we are hoping to see if he's going to eventually clinch that one. Keegan was actually named the captain of the Team USA for the upcoming 2025 Riders Cup in that particular category. Of course, their captain doing fantastically well currently in the BMW Championship, of course, ongoing in the game of golf. Yes, we'll move away from golf and quickly we'll talk about UFC, where our very own Israel Adesanya actually lost, the middleweight title to South African Pirates. Of course, the fight, it was a very keenly contested one. But of course, in the third round, I must say that Israel Adesanya was actually overpowered. Currently, Israel Adesanya is in Lagos, Nigeria. The visit and all that. Of course, he's going to be our champion regardless. We'll move away from that one and let's just quickly talk about the most anticipated. Of course, football is back in town. And like I said, of course, German Bundesliga is going to be starting later today. And yes, we are expecting Bayer Leverkusen up against Mönchengladbach in that particular one. Meanwhile, of course, I must say in the Nigerian League, it's not yet the season, but of course the season is expected to kickstart 31st of August, just next week. But as things stands, there have been some kind of rumors, behind the scenes. Some clubs are saying that they are not ready, and according to our report, the organizers believe the date still remains August 31st, and yes, we are looking keenly to what is going to happen in that regard. I must also say that, of course, the Optima Gold Cup Preseason Tournament is ongoing, of course, in Ijebu-Ode, and yes, it's been an amazing one for Beyond Limits, the winners of the NLL last season, doing amazingly well. I must tell you, after their exploit in the Gotia Cup, of which they actually lost eventually to Sporting Lagos, this time around they're actually been amazing in this particular Optima Gold Cup, right there. And this time around they're already in the final, and they will be playing against a certain, of course, Shooting Stars. Let's see how that is going to go. We don't know who is going to emerge as champions eventually between Beyond Limit and of course Shooting Stars Sport Club of Ibadan. It's going to happen, just this weekend, and we are going to know who is going to emerge as the preseason tournament winner before the end for the new NPFL 2024-2025 football season. Kicks off, and I must say Beyond Limits looks very, very ready for the challenge ahead of them. So let's see if they will be able to cope with the rigors of the NPFL. We'll move away from Nigeria football. On a very sad note, we have this report coming from Cyprus. The Nigerian striker, of course, talking about Paul Julius, now dead because he actually was involved in a car crash, of course, in Cyprus. A very sad one from this end. I must say condolences to the family and entire football club of Paul Julius. The sad one coming from Cyprus. He recently joined the team just about 3 weeks ago. 20-year-old, life cut short in a very tragic way, and it's so sad. From this end, from all of us at Govima, we just want to say our sincere condolences. Good God is going to comfort the family in this difficult time. We'll move away from that very sad one, and of course we'll talk about football. Yes, the Premier League I'm back with a bang last weekend, and I want to say Manchester United kicked off the season with a scrappy win against Fulham. Maybe they are back with their ways, but we never can tell. It took a 10-minute goal from new striker, of course, Zeske, to actually save the Red Devils from what could have been another dragon, But of course, it has not been a convincing one yet again for a certain Erik ten Hag, even just as it is. But of course, we are hoping that they can turn the tables around. They will be welcoming. No, rather they will be traveling to Brighton, who demolished Everton 3-0 last weekend. Later this week, by tomorrow rather, and we are going to see how it's going to turn out for a certain Red Devils up against Brighton. They will be traveling to Brighton. Can they actually up their game and also continue? We never can tell. Let's know who is going to win that one between Brighton and Manchester United. Let me know down in the comment section. Of course, Arsenal, the Gunners, actually defeated Wolves by 2-0 with Bukayo Saka and of course Kai Havertz on target for the Gunners. Impressive one, I must say, for Arsenal. Display, Saka scoring an amazing goal, and of course Kai Havertz a beautiful header, with Saka the assist and a goal for both of these guys. And it looks as if Mikel Arteta's Arsenal will be ready to compete just again, and maybe this time around they might be able to just edge Manchester City. We never can tell. But of course, report also coming from the camp of Arsenal is that they've agreed a deal with Real Sociedad for a certain Mikel Merino, who is going to be joining Arsenal from Real Sociedad. We expect him to actually finalize the deal later today. And yes, Mikel Merino is going to be a Gunner. Okay, we'll move away from Arsenal. Related story, we'll talk about, yes, Liverpool, the rest you never walk alone. It took them, very, very long stretch to overcome and overpower a certain Ipswich Town over the weekend. It was a very, tight game, of course, at the road for the newcomers. But of course, alas, Liverpool overcame Ipswich Town thanks to a certain Salah, of course, in that particular one. They won 2-0 in the first game, week 1 of the Premier League. This time around, they will be welcoming Brentford to the Anfield, and of course, remember, it's now a new manager in charge, talking about Anslot. And yes, will they continue the momentum? Will they be also to keep up with the trend and challenge as well for the Premier League yet again? We are keeping our fingers crossed, hoping they can do just that. We'll move away from there, and yes, we'll talk about the biggest one that happened over the weekend: Manchester City and Chelsea the Blues. And less after 95 minutes thereabout of football action, it ended between Manchester City and Chelsea 2-0. Yes, Manchester City overcame Chelsea, courtesy of goals from Erling Haaland, and yes, Erling Haaland, and of course Kovacic, former Chelsea player. I must say, it looks as if Chelsea are starting on the wrong foot. But of course, new manager Enzo Maresca says, nothing to worry about. He's going to rally around his team, and that everything is going to work well, except for the controversies involving Raheem Sterling, who he categorically stated that he's not going to be part of his squad. So it looks as if it's end of the road at the bridge for a certain Raheem Sterling. This time around, Chelsea, just yesterday, they played against Servette in the qualifiers of the UEFA Conference League. Things are going haywire for Chelsea at the bridge. But of course, at the end of 90 minutes plus of football action, they actually emerged winners at 2-0, of course, in that particular one. And yes, it looks as if Chelsea might be able to just scrap some things up again, but we never can tell. They actually won the first leg 2-0. This weekend, they will be actually be in action again, and this time around we are hoping that they can actually right the wrongs they made against Manchester City in that particular one. Then Chelsea will be able to actually come back and bounce back from their opening day defeat against Manchester City. We keep our fingers crossed from this end. In action again, talking about Arsenal now up against Aston Villa. They will be traveling all the way to the Villa Park Stadium to actually face a certain Unai Emery. Remember the last time I was, of course, at the Emirates, they defeated Arsenal surprisingly 2-0, and that happens to put a dent to the title hopes of Arsenal. This time around again, it's going to be Aston Villa up against Arsenal. Let us know, who do you think is going to emerge between the Gunners and, of course, the Villa Park landlords. Meanwhile, Manchester United, like I said, they will be traveling all the way to Wolves, who lost to Arsenal last weekend. Will Man United be able to actually come up with something? We'll keep our fingers crossed. To know, Manchester City will welcome Ipswich to the Etihad Stadium. All things being equal, it should be a routine win for Manchester City. But this is football; anything is possible. And of course, Ipswich looks like a team that will be actually, competing regardless of all odds against them. I want to say maybe they can have a shot, but it's going to be a very difficult one for a certain McKenna and his team. Okay, guys, we'll move away from Premier League, and yes, let's quickly talk about this one before we just round up today. La Liga also is back, and yes, it was not a good start for a certain Real Madrid and Kylian Mbappe. They actually, kick-started the season with a 1-0 draw against Real Mallorca. It wasn't a good start, I must say. In the game, they were expected to win, having defeated Atlanta in the UEFA Super Cup, but then again, it's a game of football. They started the season 1-1, and yes, with a point in that particular one. Meanwhile, Barcelona began on a very good note, coming from behind to actually overcome the power of Valencia. 2-1 it ended at the end of 90 minutes of football action in La Liga, and of course, yes, they emerged as winners in that particular one. Guys, a lot of things to talk about. Time is this issue. What are we gonna do with time? It's running and taking away. Okay, just before we go, let me let you know that yes, of course, in France, and they are talking about Ligue 1 now. Yes, life after Mbappe continues for a certain PSG who actually demolished, of course, Le Havre 4-1 in their first game of the season last weekend. I must say they are actually feeling like we can do without Mbappe. Of course, anybody can actually move on. There is always this saying that what soldier go, soldier come, but of course Barak remains. And also we have a certain Marcel who looks to reshuffle their season, with a very beautiful game of football last weekend, demolishing Brest by 5-1. And yes, a certain Mason Greenwood of former Manchester United player in action, and I must say it looks to be a player that wants to rejuvenate his career. 2 goals, a brace for him in that particular one, with amazing games of football. And I must say that Marcel might just be ready to actually challenge PSG for the title yet again. Guys, that will be the size of our package for this week on Govima Sport Review. I must say it's been another amazing time on the show. I wish I could be here all day, but of course time will never permit. Remember the dialogue here, remember to comment, remember to subscribe, and also look forward to more of the stories making the headlines, as I will be here all through the season to be your guide. Just as always, my name is Oluka Adeolumu. Your friends call me MCK, the Duper Superman. Until I come your way again next week, we'll know the results by then, and of course, I will be back to tell you how hot the results went. Okay, guys, until then again, I'm out of here.